Welcome to the season 3 premiere of Five Things. And boy, do we have some things lined up for you this season that are a little bit different from what we've done in the previous seasons. To start off, is we're jumping right into the meat of every episode. We're not going to do the intros or the little bit of the background and history on our topics. So we're going to dive right into it. The second change, Chetty is on vacation. He's having fun doing his thing with his family. So we're going to have some special guest hosts, and we're going to rotate between Nerdbox's friend Mick Manhattan at the Scene Snobs, and we're also going to have on Danny Vega from the Danny Vega Show. So let's welcome him to the show, everybody.
What's going on, everyone? I'm glad to be back.
Anything you want to plug real quick before we dive into things?
Yeah, so everyone just go to the channel, the Danny Vega Show. Click like and subscribe. I'm also inspired by Nerdbox and Dave doing my 1K giveaway. So as soon as we hit 1,000 subscribers, there's going to be a grand prize. And then not only that, my next quick review is going to be on Everything Everywhere All at Once. And this is what I thought about the movie. You got to click on the video to see what I thought about it.
Yeah, definitely. And that is a review that you're not going to want to miss. And you may want to check out the movie after you hear his notes on it. I haven't heard it yet, and I'm going to be interested in hearing his thoughts. So definitely check that out. Now, before we jump into things, today's topic on the season premiere is 5 things that we want to see in Scream 6.
I am inevitable.
What better way to have a show on Scream than not having an expert? So with us today is Craven from Craven Something Scary.
Hey, Dave, it's Craven Something Scary here. I want to say thank you so much for the invitation to join you and talk Scream. I cannot wait.
Appreciate having you on. Just for any new nerd boxes, Scream's special to us. Our channel kind of blew up with it. Craven was one of those channels that were out there supporting us when we were going through our Scream month in January. So,
Yep.
Craven, tell us a little bit about what you got going on over at your channel.
Well, at Craven Something Scary, it's all horror all the time. And we dig into Craven, of course, Wes Craven movies, my favorite director of all time, and the namesake inspiration for the channel name. And we go into not only his movies, but all the Scream films, all the Halloween films, a lot of the current films that are coming out, Bodies, Nope. We're going to be digging into all the Black Phone. I mean, the list goes on and on. So, if you like horror films, you like slashers, which is my favorite subgenre, then come check out the channel. I'm doing live streams all the time. Got interviews with celebrity cast members from Scream and some other films, Scream, the TV series. Got just a lot of different content, but it's all horror, and we have a great time. Do videos, updates, theories, and reactions and reviews. All of it's kind of a hodgepodge of horror. But my favorite is live streaming and theories. Theories like what we're talking about today.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, for those that are watching 5 Things for the first time, how this works is we go round robin. And that means we talk about our 5s, our 4s, our 3s, 2s, and 1s. And we always start with our guest. So, Craven, you are up.
Great. Okay. Well, number 5 thing I want to see in 6 is character development. I want to see the core 4 get some more time on the screen to tell their story. You know, in Scream 5, we have these 4 new characters in addition to the OG, but clearly they're trying to introduce these 4 as the quote new direction. The problem is we didn't have them on the screen long enough to really develop the connection like we did when the original characters were introduced. Again, Scream 1's a masterpiece. I don't think any film is going to match it. So it's not completely fair, but unfortunately, that's the world that Radio Silence walked into. You're going to be compared.
Yep.
It is what it is. So I connected with Tara because I think Jenna Ortega just was fantastic in the scene she was in. I I related to her. I felt what she felt. It was believable. There was conviction. Unfortunately, with most of the other characters, I didn't have that same connection with. And a lot of it was just because of time. You know, Mindy has one significant scene where she gives the recall rules, which was fun.
Sounds like our killer is writing his own version of Stab 8, but doing it as a requel.
But outside of that, her lines are very limited, very little screen time. Chad had even less than her. He's still alive. And of course, Sam, she did have more screen time, but there was a way that she went about performing that character that I just didn't really click with. And I think it may have been intentional by the writers, and I'm hoping it is. And I'm hoping that we see her kind of break out of that in 6 and show us more of her personality. That would be helpful too.
Yeah. Jenna Ortega is something special right now in the horror genre. So
she
I'd love
is.
to see her keep expanding. The one thing that always stands out about her in Scream 5 is the ending. When she is in the ambulance and she's calling over to the sister, and the guy goes to close the door, and she gives that look. It's like, oh boy. She does a great delivery without even having to say a word.
So my number 5 is fairly similar. So I want the character development between both Tara and Sam, the Carpenter sisters, which I'm pretty sure they did that on purpose, as Craven said and Dave before. And it's one of those things that I agree with you, Craven, because Sam was giving clues, giving hints to see that she could possibly be the killer in Scream 5. Obviously, that didn't end up happening. However, it would be a good payoff. It would be a really good payoff because Sam is not a character that we connected with or anything else, but she did give us those vibes. So is she? Is she not? And if they do pay it off in Scream 6, I think it'd be great. So to see that conflict between the sisters come out in part 6, I think that would be the best thing for not only Sam's character development, but also Tara's character development, because right now we don't know if she is super Billy, like she is crazy and she'll become the killer, or you could have Sam being the whole jealousy thing that you ruined my life and I'm gonna pay you back, because that's been a almost a motif with all the other characters with Sydney. It's like, oh, they were all somewhat related to her or related to another character that Sydney has influenced their life.
I
Definitely.
want to see that too. I just don't want to see them team up under the mask.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be very campy. That would be too campy for me. I was like,
Yeah. Well, plus, if you think about it, Tara demonstrated to me much more Sydney like qualities than Sam did. You know, she was much more of a Sydney Prescott type than Sam. I mean, in fact, Tara underwent much more severe trauma in that movie than Sam did as well. And she overcame it. She rose above it to stand there at the end and kill Amber, you know, with the fatal
yeah.
shot to the head. The little Amber Kruger, I like to call her at that point, in honor of Freddie.
Yeah, I'd love to see these characters develop more. I thought we were teasing it a little bit with Mindy when she showed up in the basement.
How do you know I'm not the killer?
Because I am.
And my mind exploded right there. It's like, oh my God, that would be an awesome reveal right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just for a split second, I believed it. For a
Me
split
too.
second, my heart sunk. I said, "Oh my gosh, she really is. She's gonna pull a knife out."
I'm going to move it away from the character development into something that I want to see. And I want to see Gail die. It's time.
My number 4.
Her story arc is over. And I never really cared for the character in the earlier films. And my wife and I, we did an episode talking about a theory where we thought she was the mastermind behind all of the kills coming into 5. And the clues are all there. But now, since that is no longer the case, I just need her to go away.
I agree 100% of everything you're saying, but it's also part of the requel rules. Because if you look at any franchise, like Star Wars or anything else, of like Marvel, etc., they're all passing the torch on for the next generation. And in order for that to happen, the characters have to die or they have to, leave somehow in some grand fashion. And so far, Dewey's the only one. So next, is going to be Gale, and then possibly Sydney. Who knows, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but
Yeah.
that's the deal. I think it ties everything that you said. I agree with, but it also ties in with the requel rules, which also ties into Scream 5. Because remember, they were explaining the requel rules, so it's a great tie-in for the entire franchise if they continue down that path.
Yeah. As long as they don't kill off Sydney, I'm good. She is the top final girl ever. You can't mess with Sydney.
Agree. 100%. Off limits.
Mm-hmm.
Dude. Honestly. If they killed her, there would be no 7.
Yeah.
You imagine the what show that would happen on social media and on the internet. It would melt down if they killed Sidney Prescott, dude.
Because you two said that, opening act, Scream 6, calling it right now. You heard it here first. That Sydney's gonna die right there, opening act.
No.
Just because to spite these two.
No. Right. So my number 4 is maybe a little bit different outside the box. Maybe outside of the nerd box, just a little bit. Oh, I'll see what I did there.
Yeah.
And I want to see, guys, wide cinematography. I want to see nice breathing shots. Radio Silence shot the entire Scream 5 with these very tight frame shots. You couldn't see much outside of just a very small window. And I hearken back to the original 4. I mean, all of what, Wes Craven's style, not just in that, but all of his movies, so good at understanding how to make suspense out of a shot, not even verbally. You can just have more suspense when you have hallways, more doorways. It just adds to other elements, to where you don't know where maybe there's going to be something coming out from over here or over there. We didn't get that opportunity with Scream 5 because it was very tight. And I think probably because they're in North Carolina trying to pretend that they're in Woodsboro, California. And they probably, had to be real careful about getting too wide. But these cameras shoot brilliant wide shots, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
So let's start off Scream 6 in McGill University in Montreal as they're going to college. And we have this nice camera panning down an arm from way up high. And then we got this wide shot of the campus all incoming. I'm like, oh, I'll be so happy, guys, if we'll see a little bit of some width to the cinematography this time around.
Yeah. Now, I have to agree with you there because in the first movie with the wide shots, it introduces all these other characters that have become popular. Girl in the bathroom, you have the girl passing Billy and Sydney in the hall that can be potentially Christine, the girls in the video store. Every single character in those shots are important. And I think it's only this franchise.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah. And it helps that this is one of the only franchises in horror where it's a different killer every movie. It's not Freddy and Jason. It's not Michael every movie where we know who the killer is. There's no suspense to that. It's just who's going to survive or not and how are they going to get killed. Well, this is different because every one of these characters who we think are side characters might be the actual killer. They could be a red herring or they might actually be behind the mask. So it adds so much more tension with these side characters because any side character can be a main character. We just don't know.
Yep. The cult of Ghostface. It is long overdue. We have the cult of Jigsaw. We need the cult of Ghostface. Now, originally, me and my wife had thought it would be led by Randy, but now you never know. Maybe Stu's coming back. But social media, the series involves with it. It is time to see more killers and more locations, maybe even not connected.
I agree with you 100%. And especially because in Scream 5, they hinted towards that when they both met on the Reddit page. So everyone knows Reddit is a public forum. So everyone from all over the world uses Reddit. So maybe that could inspire not even just the nation, but a global, epidemic, if you will, or, pandemic of just serial killers, of a bunch of ghost face all over the place. And I think, it also similarly goes to, they kind of hinted that in Scream 2 in the movie theater when everybody in the movie theater had a ghost face on and it was, you didn't know who was who. Anyone could have been the killer. And that's what ended up happening in the opening scene. So that would be absolutely fantastic to just be like, oh man, Halloween everywhere else around the world. Now everyone has to be careful because you never know who's Ghostface.
It's real simple. Radio silence. Guy and James, everybody, listen up. Do not kill Kirby in the opening scene of this movie. Please, for the love of all humanity, do not bring her back after, 11 years, whatever it is now. Bring her back, and only 12 years. Bring her back to just kill her in the opening sequence. I swear, guys, there's very few things that will make me walk out of a Scream movie or make me think about walking out. One of them is Sidney Prescott. There's no thinking. I'm walking. It's done. And it's not even a second thought. I will just walk out, leave all my soda, leave everything there. Just leave it there. Now, they can clean it up. They'll figure it out. I'll be too distraught. So that's number one. But number two, Kirby Reed killed in the opening will infuriate me. I will stay. I will watch it to make sure there's not some kind of a really good story component to make that make sense for me. Otherwise, it just ticks me off. And I think at that point they are full blown going Rian Johnson on us, and they had to throw Rian Johnson in there for episode 8 for Stab 8. Now they might literally be following Rian Johnson. And if they do that, I'll have a real hard time with it, especially if there's no point to it, to the storyline other than shock. Oh, I'll be furious.
I have to agree with that one too, because I think honestly, out of the franchise, Scream 1 is always going to be my favorite, hands down. There's no comparison. However, Scream 5 is my second favorite. And if you don't yes and everything that's built in Scream 5 to Scream 6, like you're saying, there's no way in hell that it will be as good or anything. It could honestly flop, like Scream 3. Scream 3, the idea, like the premise was very great. It was awesome. It had so much potential. However, it wasn't executed properly. So I agree with you. If they do not execute it properly, no matter how much potential Scream 6 could have, it will just fall short. So
Yep.
Yeah. Kirby's probably my second favorite character in the franchise.
Oh,
So
Wow. Nice.
it's hated, right? That's one reason right there.
so number 3, to piggyback off of you, Mr. Dave, is going to be something a little different. I'm tired of the multiple killers. I want one mastermind behind the grandiose thing. I think, again, the potential of Scream 3, one of my favorite things that, again, they executed poorly, is that Sydney's brother was the mastermind for 1, 2, and 3. Like, what? How amazing is that if you can pull it off properly? And if we have one killer, like, it doesn't matter how many Ghostface you see, if there's one that was the puppet master that pulled all the strings to make things happen, basically the potential of Scream 3 coming into fruition properly, I think it would twist people up. It would definitely be a great homage to Wes Craven to give that unpredictability, because you're always guessing and you're like, oh, there's 2 killers. Oh, maybe 3, whatever. And then it's just one person that was just absolutely fantastic, 5 steps ahead of everybody else. Oh my gosh. I seriously feel like that would change the game.
I don't know if I want a single killer.
Oh, come on, man. Come on. Because, again, think about it. To everything connect because of one person, and it could even involve a cult thing like you. One person, that's what I'm saying is piggyback, could be manipulating everyone just to have their plan work out in their favor.
All right. You're selling me now on it. That okay? I can see that. Yeah. All right. My number 3. I've been talking about it since I've seen the movie, and I gotta see it. Sam is the killer. She is the killer in the next movie. And here's why I'm going to add to that too, is Craven had mentioned the kill style of Sam in this movie was far different than anybody else. But Judy Hicks, if we all go back to watch that kill scene, it is very similar to that. So I'm thinking that there's been 3 Ghostface in part 5. I'm thinking that the Psycho Easter eggs is going to lead to Sam being the killer, and we're going to get to see Billy, and we're going to get to see Stu on screen because she's going to cross personalities, and they're going to pop in Billy, and we're going to see that confrontation once again.
Yeah, you heard it here, folks, before the movie even comes out. I think a good segue would be you think that she's the good guy the whole time, that she's the bad guy. Pull a Return of the Jedi, because the reason why Return of the Jedi is my favorite, a lot of people miss it, is Luke Skywalker is the bad guy, and the whole movie is his descent into the dark side, and he realizes it at the end. She already had her realization she's the bad guy. Now it's just her slipping slowly into madness, and it'd be incredible if they do it like, oh, she's the good guy, and then you, like you said, come out that she has a split personality and she's really the killer. Oh, incredible.
Yeah, realistically, the only way you can take Sydney out is by elevating an antagonist to be on the same level as her. You cannot have a killer introduced in one single film that's going to be coming after Sydney. They have to be developed over a few movies.
I hate you because I can't talk about it now, but we're going to revisit this in a couple of... Oh, Dave!
Oh. I want a shocking twist. I want to be blown away. I don't want to go in, figured it all out in the first 30 minutes of the film. I'm so tired of that. I want to go into this thing, and I think I figured it out. Oh, they're doing this. I know where this is heading. You guys aren't going to fool me. And then what happens at the end? My head explodes all over the theater wall. Not from a Tarantino gunshot, but because Radio Silence did it. They actually did it. They actually fooled me. They shocked me. They did some kind of a twist so that I never saw coming. If they pull that off, my respect level for them is going up through the roof as Scream filmmakers. I already respect them a lot, but as Scream filmmakers, they're still earning it. So that will help me to elevate way up. And it's a part 2 to this. I'm through it all together. It's because part of that shock, it may not be that shocking, but a twist, is that at the very end, we get a cliffhanger ending for the first time in the franchise. And the film ends with Sydney getting this phone call, and we don't hear what's said on the other end of the line. I don't want to hear, hello, Sydney, or I'm back, Sydney. I don't want to hear any of that stuff. I want to see her face go from being happy with her kids to having such dread on her face that whatever she's hearing is horrifying her, and it goes to credits and says to be continued. It's done. That's what I want in this movie.
The death of Mark Kincaid on the phone.
Oh.
So I agree with you. I think Scream 6, because Scream 5, I get why they did the way they did. And they even made a joke about it, and I thought it was too meta, where they were like, we know it's disappointing, but it was the best for the franchise. And you're like, oh, whatever. But it's I do see why they did that. But however, I feel like that opportunity was missed because Scream 1 was the OG to burst your mind in a horror film.
Yes.
It like blew your mind in a horror film. Like you expect it from thrillers and other things, but from a horror film, you're like, I didn't expect that whatsoever. So I think the opportunity of Scream 6 doing that, I agree with you. I feel like the creativeness needs to come out. Something that, like you said, that we've never seen before. My number 2 is that Stu needs to come back in some way, shape, or form.
That's my number 2 as well.
Yeah! Especially because rule number 1 of horror, if you don't see the body, they're not really dead. We did not see the body of Stu. We saw the TV fall on his face, but we don't know. And, you know, some people can say the same with Dewey because you don't really see Dewey's body either. So it's one of those things that it would be great, whether it's a flashback, whether it's one of Sam's personalities, however, if Stu comes back in some way, shape, or form, I think it'd be great. I think it would throw everyone off too, because it's been so long. They're like, there's no way you're going to bring him back, especially if he is an antagonist. You're going to be like, what?
Look, the statistics back it. for some reason, 11,000 TVs fall on people every single year, right? And during the 10 years after that movie, the majority of them were still tube TVs, and only one died. So you're talking about a massive 1,100,000 people had TVs drop on them, and only one died. Stu's alive.
Fantastic.
I don't know,
Love
man.
it.
Flat screens, that's why now. But Stu got that big old TV from back in the day on
That's
his
what
head.
I'm saying, though. The stats were all tube TVs. 90% of those TVs, which I don't know why people still own tube TVs, were tube TVs falling on people.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got to remember the height wasn't that tall. If someone had dropped that from the second story balcony onto his head, absolutely, he's toast. That TV was on just a TV stand. It's not like it was way up in the high, like at the ceiling level. And secondly, what no one rarely ever talks about is that TV doesn't even hit him directly on his face. He's got his arms up and his hands over in front on his chest, impacting the fall of that television. So he's got his arms are taking the brunt of it, not his face. And so I think that is such a tired argument. It's so worn out. I'm like, dude, just think about it for a minute, right? And those stats that you gave, Dave, were very compelling. And I've actually got a project coming up in June that we're working on now, where we're pulling scientific data on the same stuff, and it's matching up to what you're saying, 100%. There's, and he was only stabbed 4 times. I counted them up. I held back on chiming in because it was my number one, so I wasn't going to show my cards on number one. But my number one, hands down, is the return of Stu Macher to the franchise, ladies and gentlemen. I believe the cult of Ghostface is the cult of Stu, and that he actually is the person who posted the dreaded thread. He is the originator of the thread where Richie and Amber met, and I believe that Stu Macher is right now in the process of manipulating and cultivating more people who are mentally unstable and unhealthy, who are prone to these tendencies, to work them into Ambers and Richies all over the country, all over the world even for that matter, which is why they can leave Woodsboro and go to New York to go to college, and they're still Ghostface killers because they're all on the same thread.
My number one is that Sydney finally becomes Ghostface. And the reason being is because of this. All of the other Screams, it's been her family. And again, close friends, right? Number 4, with her cousin and everything else. Hold on, Dave. Stop shaking your head. Let me make it make sense. I think she goes off the deep end. I think she finally hones in to be Ghostface, and she would be Sam's Ghostface. And that way it comes full circle of instead of the Loomis being Ghostface to Sydney, Sydney becomes Ghostface to Sam, and it comes back full circle. And I think that's the only way, if you are going to kill Sydney off, that's the only way to do it justice, that she's out of the franchise and the new people take it forward, that Sam is the protagonist and you get rid of Sydney because she's the antagonist. And I'm telling you, it would come that I don't see any other way Sydney getting out of the franchise properly that fans are going to like it.
I wanted that in part 3. I don't want it anymore.
I'm telling you, man.
Danny, I've been with you all show long. You and I have been like this, dude. I'm like, dude, we are bonding. And bro, I have to say, man, as much as I want to be there for you on all of these points, I'm gonna have to part ways with you on this one. Just this one. No hard feelings or anything. But I can't go there, buddy. I can't. I want her in every movie. I want her in Scream 12. I want her in Scream 20. I want her when her girls are 18 years old and she's like 75. I want her to be in it. I don't even care. Go visit her at the retirement home, man. Let's go.
Number one's not on that level. It's pretty simple. It's probably my simplest choice on the entire top 5 list. And it's just having 2 Ghostface operating outside of each other. So we have two screens going on. Everybody's like, "Oh, it's got to be two again." They're working together and they're trying to figure it out. But all along, it's not. You have Stu working in one corner, you have Sam working in another corner, or maybe you even have another person working in another corner, and it all comes out at the end when they bump into each other on screen. It's like, dude, we get that Spider-Man me moment, but with Ghostface.
Could you imagine 2 or 3 Ghostface killers in costume stabbing each other? In
Yes.
costume, going after each other.
Yes, I thought about it when me and Dave talked about this last time. So Dave mentioned that, and I agreed. I mean, imagine that you have two Ghostface. They come in the same room. They're trying to attack one person, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, it's mine, and then they start fighting. Oh my gosh!
Yes.
It's just like, now who's the better serial killer? You know?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And we get a reveal when they're both dead in costume on the ground.
Oh,
One mask comes off, then we got to see who the other mask is after they're dead. Will you imagine
Nice.
that?
Yeah.
Ooh.
wow.
Yeah.
All right, so that brings us to the end of our list. Honorable mentions will be later on. So I would like to say thank you for Craven for being our guest. Plug away. What do you got for us?
Oh, listen, man. Always got stuff cooking. All right, always got stuff cooking. So come check out the channel. Be sure you subscribe. Hit the bell notification because I'm always lining up interviews with different folks. I've got a couple of celebrity interviews that are almost near confirmation status now. I don't have dates, otherwise I would tell them to you. But I will say this: that Nancy Ann Ritter, the girl from the bathroom in Scream 1, will be coming back on the channel probably sometime in July. And June or July, and she'll be coming on to watch Sleepaway Camp, the iconic cult movie from the 80s. She's going to watch that. That's going to be a fun time. And also, Lynn McCree, who plays Maureen Prescott, she's been on my channel twice. She's coming back a third time, and so it'll be in July as well. So stay tuned for that as well if you're Scream fans, Maureen Prescott. And if you would like to see those interviews with her, they're on my channel now. So if you go there, I have a section at the top that says interviews, and you can watch her. She gets some great behind-the-scenes stories on Scream 3, working with Wes Craven. It's just phenomenal, absolutely incredible stories, and gave some insight on Wes that I'd never heard before, and from someone who was working with him every day for quite a while. It was really interesting. So if you're a fan of that stuff, come check it out. I'd love to see you over there. And say hi. And let me know you came from the Nerd Box, which this channel's banging. And if you're here, you already know it's banging. And I'm telling you, Dave is amazingly talented. So happy. And Dave, I got to say, man, I want everyone to know, when I saw your Scream way back in, I guess it was January, right? Or February.
Yeah.
And you had like 300 subscribers. It was right around that number. And when I discovered you, and the first impression I got was, okay, this guy's got his stuff together. He knows what he's doing, not only knowledge-wise, and I think it was like the 68 things. Am I remembering right?
Easter eggs, yep.
Yeah, the Easter egg. I still remember that. See, I didn't forget. And I'm like, look at it, and your editing style is so good. So I wish you nothing but continued success. I know the sky's the limit for this channel, and I'm just so honored for the invitation that I could come on and be a small part of this show. And Danny, I want to say to you, my friend, I'm excited to dig into your stuff after this video's done. Can't wait.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm honored to have you on. Danny, honored to have you on as our guest host. And just to piggyback off of it, like this video so it expands the audience. Go over to both channels. Go over to Craven Something Scary. Go over to Danny Vega Show. Subscribe if you're not. Like their videos as well because you want to support the independent podcast, artists, filmmakers. That's what we're here for. So until the next, see you.
Peace.
Bye.